It's the kind of story that feels less like history and more like a legend, a tale whispered across the internet that makes you believe your heroes are even better than you imagined. It has all the perfect ingredients: a global icon, a sold-out arena, a sudden crisis, and an act of kindness so huge it could bring 18,000 people to their knees. The story is that Elvis Presley, the king of rock and roll, stopped a massive concert for one small voice in the crowd, a mother pleading for her dying 7-year-old son. This tale has gone viral, racking up millions of views. It paints a picture of a man who, at the height of his fame, had a heart big enough to pause the entire world for a single fan. It's a story about a miracle, a final wish granted, and a moment that supposedly left an entire stadium weeping. It's the kind of story you desperately want to be true, but is it? That's the question we're answering today. We're going to peel back the layers of this incredible internet legend, follow the digital breadcrumbs, and see what the evidence actually says. Because behind this viral sensation, there's a different story, one about how myths get started, why we fall for them, and what the truth reveals about the real man behind the crown. What really happened on that supposed night in 1975? The answer is far more complicated, and honestly more fascinating than the legend itself. Picture it, September 15th, 1975, the Mid-South Coliseum in Memphis, Tennessee. The air is electric. This is Elvis's city, and he is their king. He's nearing the end of his second show of the night, a triumphant return home. For hours, a roaring sea of 18,000 fans has been in the palm of his hand. They screamed for Hound Dog and swooned to Burning Love. Now, as the final chords of the night approach, Elvis starts his iconic closer, Can't Help Falling in Love. It's pure magic, the perfect end to a perfect night. But then a voice cuts through the music, raw and desperate. "Elvis, please, my son, he's dying." The music stumbles. The band looks to Elvis, confused. The king stops singing, mid-lyric. The entire arena, all 18,000 people, falls silent. He walks to the edge of the stage, squinting into the lights, trying to find the voice. Down in the third row, a woman named Margaret Sullivan is holding her 7-year-old son, Danny. He's frail, wearing a baseball cap to hide the hair he lost to chemotherapy. With doctors having given him less than 48 hours to live, his last wish on Earth was to see Elvis. What Elvis Presley did next, according to the legend, is one of the most emotional moments in music history. But it also holds a secret. Because the story you've been told might not be the whole truth. We investigated what really happened that night. Before we start poking holes, it's important to understand the legend as it's told, to feel the full emotional punch that has captivated millions. This isn't just a quick anecdote, it's a whole movie scene. The story starts with Tom and Margaret Sullivan, parents facing the unthinkable. Their son, Danny, is losing his fight with leukemia. Doctors at St. Jude have given them the heartbreaking news. There's nothing more they can do. Danny has a day, maybe two. So they ask their son if he has one last wish. His answer is simple. "Mama, I want to see Elvis. It's a long shot." Elvis is in town, but tickets are gone. Then, a miracle. The Sullivans somehow get 3 tickets. For the September 15th show, third row. For the first hour of the concert, Danny is in heaven. He's weak, but he's singing along, his little voice swallowed by the crowd. His mom, Margaret, nervously keeps a hand on his wrist, checking his pulse, terrified the excitement might be too much. Then comes the moment. Elvis starts to sing Can't Help Falling in Love, Danny's favorite song. Margaret knows this is it, the last song of her son's last wish. Fueled by a desperate love, she stands up and screams, "Elvis, please! He's only got hours left. He just wanted to hear you sing." The viral story then paints a scene of impossible tenderness. Elvis stops everything. He tells the 18,000-strong crowd, "Ladies and gentlemen, I need you to be patient. There's something more important than this show happening right now. He then supposedly has his road manager bring the entire Sullivan family backstage. There, the legend says, Elvis greets the frail boy not as a fan, but as a friend. When he learns Danny's prognosis, he decides the third row isn't good enough. In an act that defies all concert protocol, Elvis carries the 7-year-old out onto the stage, sits him on a stool, and puts him in the spotlight. "This song is for you, Danny," Elvis says into the mic. But he doesn't just sing to him. The story says he invites Danny to sing with him. And so, an impromptu duet begins. Elvis is powerful. Baritone joined by the weak, wavering voice of a dying child. The moment is so raw that the entire arena joins in, not as fans, but as a gentle chorus of 18,000 voices singing a lullaby for Danny. Tough-looking men are openly weeping, teenagers are sobbing, and parents are clutching their own children. Not a dry eye in the house. As the song ends, the legend peaks. Elvis whispers something in Danny's ear, and the boy smiles, a real, genuine smile, for the first time in weeks. As Elvis prepares to carry him back, Danny takes off his baseball cap and places it on Elvis's head. "For you," Danny whispers. "So you remember me." At this, the king of rock and roll, a man famous for his cool, breaks down and cries on stage. He supposedly finishes the concert wearing Danny's cap. But the miracle doesn't end there. The story claims Elvis spent another hour with the family after the show, and in the final twist, Danny Sullivan didn't die that night, or the next day. He lived for another 6 months, a period doctors had called medically impossible. To seal. The deal, some versions claim a Danny Sullivan Foundation was created in 1982 to grant wishes to terminally ill children. They even say a small plaque exists backstage at the FedEx Forum, which replaced the old Coliseum, commemorating the event. It's a perfect story, a story of compassion, hope, and magic, almost too perfect. As wonderful as the story of Danny Sullivan is, the moment you step back from the emotion and ask a few basic questions, the perfect narrative starts to crumble. The first job of any investigator is to check the foundational facts. And right away, the legend runs into a massive, unmovable wall. The viral story is incredibly specific. September 15, 1975, at the Mid-South Coliseum in Memphis. That specificity makes it sound credible, but it also makes it very easy to check. Elvis Presley is one of the most documented performers in history. His every concert, set list, and public appearance was tracked obsessively. So, the first step is simple. What was Elvis doing on September 15, 1975? The answer, according to every credible Elvis concert database and historical record, is blunt. There was no Elvis concert on September 15, 1975. Not in Memphis, not anywhere. He had finished a tour leg in late July and was dealing with health issues in August, which forced him to cancel the rest of a Las Vegas engagement. His next tour didn't kick off until later that fall. The very foundation of the story is built on sand. There was no show. Okay, but maybe the storyteller just got the date wrong? Let's be generous. Did Elvis play the Mid-South Coliseum in Memphis at all in 1975? Yes, he did, on June 10, 1975. That concert is thoroughly documented. We have the set list, reviews from local papers like the Memphis Press Scimitar, and even bootleg recordings. A reporter who was there described Elvis as a little puffier and lot more talkative in front of 12,367 well-scrubbed screaming fans. He even documented a moment of human drama when Elvis bent over to kiss a fan and split the seat of his famous white jumpsuit, joking about it with the crowd. What no one, not a single reporter or fan ever mentioned, was anything even close to the Danny Sullivan story. There's no record of the show stopping, no desperate mother, no dying child on stage, no duet, no baseball cap. Nothing. For an event so profound it supposedly left an entire arena in tears. Its complete absence from every single record isn't just suspicious, It's conclusive. Another detail you'll find in almost every telling of the myth is the crowd size. 18,000 people. It sounds epic, right? One man's compassion silencing a crowd that massive. But like the date, this number is a fantasy. The Mid-South Coliseum's maximum capacity for a concert was around 10,000 to 12,500 people. The official review of the real June 10th concert puts the attendance at 12,367. That's a huge crowd, but it's nowhere near 18,000. Why does this matter? It's a classic sign of what folklorists call legend inflation. As a story gets passed around, the details get bigger and more dramatic. A big crowd becomes a colossal one. A kind gesture becomes a life-saving miracle. Inflating the crowd by almost 50% is a huge red flag that the storyteller cares more about drama than facts. To make the story feel more real, some versions add what sounds like verifiable proof. The Danny Sullivan Foundation, established in 1982, and a commemorative plaque backstage at Memphis's modern arena, the FedEx Forum. But when you go looking, for them, they're ghosts. We scoured nonprofit databases and historical archives. There is no trace of a Danny Sullivan Foundation from 1982 or any other year. It appears to be a complete invention, created to give the fictional story a satisfying ending. Likewise, inquiries about a plaque at the FedEx Forum turn up nothing. Officials and staff have no idea what anyone is talking about. It doesn't exist. These fabricated details are maybe the most telling sign of all. The storyteller isn't just getting facts wrong. They're making things up to make the lie feel true. It's pretty clear the story of Danny Sullivan is falling apart. The date is wrong, the crowd size is exaggerated, and the physical proof is non-existent. But this raises an even bigger question. Where did this story even come from, and what if I told you it's part of a much larger pattern? After the break, we'll uncover the real, documented story of a time Elvis did connect with a terminally ill child. A story that is just as moving and has the benefit of being true. The Danny Sullivan story doesn't exist in a vacuum. It belongs to a genre of online folklore known as glurge, a term for those sappy, sentimental stories that are presented as true, but are almost always fake. They are engineered for maximum emotional impact and easy sharing. And the Danny Sullivan tale isn't even an original fabrication. It's almost a carbon copy of an older, nearly identical Elvis myth, the story of the blind girl. That legend is usually set at a concert in Norfolk, Virginia, on July 20th, 1975. In this version, Elvis stops the show for a young blind girl, brings her on stage, and is so moved that he gives her family a massive check, sometimes claimed to be $50,000, to care for her for life. This story got so big that the fact-checking site Snopes investigated it. They went straight to the top, the archivists at Graceland. After doing deep research, Graceland's verdict was clear. No record of this happening. Just like with the Memphis show, researchers looked at reviews of the Norfolk concert. And just like in Memphis, they found no mention of a blind girl, a show stoppage, or a giant check. Place the Danny Sullivan story and the blind girl story side by side, and the formula is obvious. Both involve stopping a 1975 concert. Both feature a vulnerable child. Both see Elvis bring the child into the spotlight. Both end with an act of almost superhuman compassion. And most importantly, both are completely fake. It's almost certain that the Danny Sullivan story is just a repackaged version of the old blind girl myth. Viral content creators likely saw the power of the old legend and just gave it a fresh coat of paint. New names, a different illness, and more dramatic details like the duet and the baseball cap. They are recycling a proven formula for emotional manipulation, preying on our desire for heartwarming stories. These tales come from anonymous content farms that churn out untold stories without ever citing a source. The story of Danny Sullivan isn't history. It's a product. So, the verdict is in. The story of Elvis stopping his concert for a dying boy named Danny Sullivan is, without a doubt, a myth. It was likely born from an older, debunked legend and supercharged by the internet. There was no concert on that date, no duet, no baseball cap, and no Danny Sullivan, and that might feel disappointing. It's never fun to see a beautiful story dismantled by cold, hard facts, but that's the wrong way to look at it. Because you don't need to believe in the myth of Danny Sullivan to believe in Elvis Presley's generosity. In fact, debunking the fake story lets us appreciate the real ones. And there is one true story that is just as moving. Her name was Denise Sanchez, an 8-year-old girl from Santa Fe, New Mexico. In 1972, just like the fictional Danny, Denise was a massive Elvis fan who was tragically ill. She was battling a severe cancer that had led to the amputation of her leg. By the spring of '72, the cancer had spread to her lungs, and doctors gave her the same devastating prognosis. There was nothing left to do. Her mother, Trudy, learned Elvis was performing in Albuquerque on April 19, 1972. It was her daughter's greatest wish. But as the date approached, Denise was too sick to make the 65-mile trip. Showing incredible spirit, Denise begged to go. She wanted to see her hero in person before she died. The family and doctors agreed. A local reporter heard their story and helped arrange a meeting with Elvis's manager, Colonel Tom Parker, who was so moved he arranged for special seats and a personal meeting with Elvis. This encounter didn't happen by stopping a show. It happened quietly, backstage, during intermission. Denise was nervous, but when Elvis saw her, her fear melted away. According to her mother's own account, Elvis knelt in front of her wheelchair, kissed her on both cheeks, and told her she was beautiful. He spent time with her, not as a king, but as a person. Denise shyly asked him to sign a poster, and he wrote, "To Denise, I love you, Elvis Presley." Before he went back on stage, Denise asked if he would sing a song for her. He promised he would, as a surprise. A little while later, the thousands of fans in the arena heard Elvis's voice announce, "This next song is for Denise, a very special girl I have just met backstage." He didn't sing a gentle love song. He chose "You Gave Me a Mountain," a powerful anthem about facing incredible struggles. For Denise and her family, the lyrics were overwhelming. But this time, "Lord, you gave me a mountain I may never climb." Her mother recalled that they all cried. It was a moment of shared humanity, a quiet, deliberate act of kindness. This event was filmed for the 1972 documentary Elvis on Tour. And while the footage didn't make the final cut, the outtakes still exist as undeniable proof. The story was documented in newspapers at the time. It is real. Denise Sanchez's story doesn't have a miracle ending. Her mountain was too high to climb, and she passed away not long after. But Elvis gave her something priceless, a moment of joy, recognition, and profound kindness that brought her happiness at the end of her life. That is a true miracle of the human spirit. And it wasn't a one-off. Elvis's generosity was legendary, from donating all the proceeds of his 1973 Aloha from Hawaii concert to a cancer fund to countless other unpublicized acts of kindness. So, why did the fake story of Danny Sullivan get more famous than the true story of Denise Sanchez? The answer is pretty simple. The Danny story is a perfect narrative. It's dramatic, public, and has a miracle ending. It's built to be shared. The true story of Denise is quieter, more complex. It happened backstage. Its conclusion is heartbreakingly real. Truth is often messier than fiction, but it's also more meaningful. We believe stories like Danny's because we want to. We want our heroes to be flawless. We want to believe that a single act of kindness can stop time and conquer death. These stories tap into a deep need for hope. But by clinging to the fiction, we miss the truth. The real Elvis Presley was not a comic book hero. He was a complex, flawed, brilliant man. His documented generosity, like the quiet moment he shared with Denise Sanchez, is powerful because it was real. It wasn't a performance for 18,000 people, it was a genuine connection with one little girl. It reminds us that true compassion doesn't always need a spotlight. In the end, we don't need fabricated legends to appreciate Elvis. The truth of his life, the groundbreaking music, the cultural impact, and the real, documented moments of kindness is a story that is more than powerful enough on its own. It doesn't need to be embellished, it just needs to be told. What do you think? Did you believe the Danny Sullivan legend? What other historical myths or viral stories have you always been curious about? Let us know in the comments. We read all of them, and your idea might just be our next investigation. And if you believe the truth is always the best story, make sure you subscribe for more deep dives into history's most fascinating tales. Thanks for watching.